record. All right, we're starting right on time, you guys. Okay, so call to welcome. So glad you all are here on time. You rock. And what I wanted to do, we're going to talk about host coaching today. Amanda and I are both going to just kind of give our big tips because a lot of you, all of you have already done parties, so you already are host coaching. So we're just going to give kind of our big things that we think are really valuable, and then we'll have lots of time for Q&A. And I thought it'd be fun if we have extra time to talk about Disneyworld and how to earn the trip. For those of you that don't know, I actually earned my first trip in less than 6 months. So I want to talk about that because we still have 10 and a half full months left for Disney World. So it's totally doable for anybody. So anyway, I don't want to get all into that right now, but if we have time, we'll talk about Disney World. If we don't have time today, we will talk about Disney World next week, okay? Because I definitely want to make sure we have enough time for host coaching. And the other thing I wanted to start off with, I'm going to start off every training with this, just so you guys know, and it's positive mindset, because I think it is literally the base of everything that we do. So like, I think it's positive mindset, then bookings, then host coaching, then recruiting, and then all the other stuff like time management and customer care. So I want to talk about, last week we talked a little bit about, with positive mindset, believing in yourself, believing in the opportunities. I want to talk about positive affirmations because I hear a lot of this as an upline, which if you're going to vent, you should vent to your upline. That's what we're here for. We're here to listen. But I hear a lot of things like, oh, I just can't get parties this month. Or, oh man, it's just really hard booking parties after the holidays. And so think about when you say that stuff out loud or you say that to yourself, that's you telling your brain that that's true, right? Like, oh, it's just really hard to get bookings. And what happens is when you tell your brain it's really hard to get bookings, then you don't go message or call somebody because you just assume it's just too hard to get bookings. And then what happens? What's the result? You don't get bookings. So you tell your brain that, and then that ends up being what happens because you don't take the actions necessary. So think about how to change your mindset into things like, oh my gosh, everybody wants to party with me. I just need 2 more bookings this month and my calendar's full. Or, oh my gosh, I am so excited because I'm going to hook all my hosts up with so much free product and everyone's going to want to be booking parties with me. So tell yourself those things, because then what happens is you tell your brain that, and then you want to go and book parties because you are telling your brain that you are a booking magnet and everyone's going to say yes. So as you're going through getting bookings and asking and doing parties, tell yourself those things. Try to keep it positive. And that's why sometimes when people message me and say like something negative, I try to spin it around positive, even though it's probably annoying. Sometimes you're like, dude, would you just let me vent to you? But the positive stuff really does make a difference. So anyway, going into host coaching, I asked Amanda, I hope she doesn't mind, I'm making her always start everything, making her kick it off. So she's going to give her top tips, and then I'll jump in at the end and kind of fill in mine. I might even talk a little bit about home shows at the end, even though I know not everyone does home shows, but some of us do. So I definitely want to make sure if Amanda is not going to talk about home show stuff, I will talk about that a little bit as well. So Amanda, you are not muted, so feel free. I'm going to mute myself and you can jump in.
Sounds good. See, I go first because then I steal all your ideas and I don't have to come up with anything after you talk. So, so for host coaching, so for me, my thing is that I start host coaching as soon as I book the party. So that is my biggest tip for you all, if you're not already doing that now. So you book that party, you get the date, you get their information, and then I start host coaching. So even in that first initial message, I say, okay, like I'm going to add you to your party on this day. The goal is to have 30 people going. You're going to want to invite at least 100 people. And I say that like just in the initial like correspondence, because that kind of sets the tone for, what they can expect from the party. Another thing, if you're not doing a phone call with people, do a phone call. And I, whenever I do trainings, I especially make an effort to do a phone call with hosts that I don't know. Okay. So like you might do like a party for like your best friend, right? So that's a little bit different. But like if you don't know your host personally, so you booked it off of a virtual party, make an effort to book or to like schedule that first call, because you're really going to get to know your host in that call. You're going to get to know what their goals are for their party. And we're going to get into this, but that's also where you can set the tone for the recruit lead as well. But really that quick phone call, it takes 5 to 10 minutes. And it's so much easier than messaging back and forth about the party. And you're going to be able to just cover, you know, what they can expect, what their wish list is, go over host rewards, all of that good stuff. And also just mention the kit credit in that call too, right? So that is kind of the setup. And I do that about a week and a half before my party starts. So that's my biggest tip, especially if you don't know your host, try and set up a phone call. I always give people the option. Some people are really weird about being on the phone. So if they're adamant about not doing a phone call, I will do it over Messenger, but I would just try and get them on the phone. So that is my biggest tip for before the party, to really help them be successful and know what they need to do in order to have, you know, the type of party that they want for whatever's on their wish list, right? So we get an idea. Do they want that quick hooker? Do we need to get their party to 800? Or are they just wanting like little gadgets, and like a $400 party would get them that, right? So we can really tailor their party to what they're wanting once we do that call and we have an idea. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is host coaching throughout the party. So probably most of you are doing this already, or some sort of host coaching daily. But that is huge, because every host wants to be successful, but maybe they don't know what to post in their party, right? They don't know what to message people. So it's our job to help them be successful and give them those tools. So I always tell my hosts, I'm going to send you a couple of suggestions each day. These are tips that will help boost your party. You can do something different, or you can do exactly what I'm sending you. It's completely up to you. But I just ask that you are active in your party every day, at least once a day. That's what I say to them. So those are my like tips for host coaching specifically, is just give them the tools they need to be successful, right? Like, hand it to them, make it super easy for them, but understand what their goals are, right? So that you can really tailor the party to the host. That's probably my biggest tip, is to get to know them and then tailor the party and host coach them to that type of style that they're best, you know, whatever they want communication. Do they want it in a text message? Do they want a phone call? Do they want a message? And then tailor your coaching to their, you know, their needs as a host. That's what I do. But those are my tips. Brianne, I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
I mean, you covered it. I kind of like in my mindset, I've tried to simplify it in my mind. You covered all the details, but I think about it in 3 stages. So stage 1 is prepare my host. So just like you said, get their wish list, let them know what to expect, make sure that they're prepared with, you know, giving them copy and paste image and text, that it's really easy for them. So step 1 would be prepare them, the phone call, a host packet if they want catalogs, or a mini catalog, so they at least have something in their hands that they can start making a wish list. I think it makes them feel special. Even just a mini catalog, you guys, it takes one forever stamp, put a piece of tape on it, and I put a little note in there like, so excited for your party. I think that means a lot to people, just to get something in the mail if you're not sending big catalogs. So prepare host. Then I think about this next part. I always call it like make them feel like the party rock star. So your host, you want them to feel like, and I'm serious, even if their party's not that successful, you do not want them to know that. Like, you need to find things to compliment them on, even if their party has 0 orders, even if they're the only people interacting. Because if they feel like they are having a good party, they're going to probably book with you again. They're going to tell their friends how easy it was. They might join your team. A lot of you, most people on my team were my hosts before they were on my team. And some people have been my hosts multiple times before they were on my team. So the third thing is keep in contact with your host. So even after your party's over, follow up with them. How are you liking your products? Can you send me a picture of all the freebies that you got? or could you post it on your page? That would be awesome. Stay Facebook friends with them. Like, ask them how things are going, add them to your VIP group, because your hosts they're going to be people that are going to give you residual business. They're going to refer people to you. So those are kind of my 3 things are prep, make them feel like a rock star, compliment them throughout the party. We never want our hosts to hear things like, oh, we don't have any orders yet on your party. Like, that might be true, but instead of saying that to them, be like, oh my gosh, your party is so much fun. I'm having a blast with your friends. You know, I'm hoping we can get some orders, but regardless, this has been so much fun. So you just don't want your host leaving their party feeling like, well, that sucked, right? Like, what a waste of time. You want them to feel like no matter what, it was a fun time and it was successful. And I've recruited people that have been hosts that did not have qualifying parties. So even when the party isn't like, oh my gosh, this party is an $800 party or this is a $500 party, even when they don't get to that kick credit level, that doesn't mean that they're not going to want to join your team. So I see Amanda like nodding her head because I think she's had this as well. So those would be my tips, is make your host, more than anything else, like, make your host feel like a rock star on their party. And same with a home show. When I get to a home show's house, I walk in their house and I'm like, oh my gosh, your kitchen's so cute. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. This is going to be so fun. Like, thank you so much for inviting me into your home. Just, you know, a heart of gratitude, because I am grateful, but also just, you know, bonding with them and building that relationship goes a really long way. Because then also when you ask them to do things, you guys, like, hey, would you be willing to go and see if there's anybody outside of Facebook to collect some extra orders? When you've already built that relationship with them, they're not thinking like, oh, she just wants sales out of this. They're thinking like, oh, she really wants to get me to rewards level or wants to get me to that next level. I'm going to totally go do this, because you've already built that relationship. Anything to add with that, Amanda? Does that make sense? Did I mute you? Oh, sorry. Oh, I just muted you.
So I just along that, like, you pretty much covered it, especially with the home shows, you touched on that, but like building that relationship with your host it's easier to do in person, but a lot of times with a home show, you don't meet them, right? Maybe beforehand. So again, just like taking that 30 minutes when you're there to set up to like get to know them, build that relationship. That is crucial, what you said about, you know, having their buy-in and knowing that it's not about us, but we want to help them reach their goals. If we don't know what their goals are, then they're not going to believe us when we say that, right? So I just adamant about connecting with your hosts. And when you don't know somebody personally, how do you do that, right? So maybe a Zoom call or just get them on the phone. Like, just because when you can hear somebody's voice too, that adds a connection. It adds a connection when you can put a voice to the name. And so it's not just on a screen, but just adamant about that connection piece for sure.
Yeah. I would say with home shows, the big difference with a home show, you guys, with host coaching is so much more is done before the party than during the party with host coaching. So with a virtual, you're talking to them every single day of your virtual party. Post this, tag people here. With a home show, it is all about getting people to the party. I mean, your host, their number one job, and this is what I tell them, your number one job is over inviting and following up with people and getting people to your show. Because if you get people at a home show and they're eating and drinking wine and hanging out, they are going to buy something. Like, it's very different than virtual parties. Virtual parties are not, they can be a little more hit or miss. You only get about a third to a fourth of the people that attend that actually purchase. With home shows, it's not like that. So if your host can get 10 to 15 people at the party, they're going to have a killer rockin' show. So I tell my hosts, invite. It seems like a lot, and I know you're scared to have 30 to 40 people in your house, but I promise you, if you invite 30 to 40, you're going to get about 10 to 15 there. So I tell them to over invite. I give them save the date image to send to their friends. I offer to send postcards or give them postcards to send if they want to. So I think that's the big difference with a home show. For those of you that are doing home shows, is you host coach everything is before the party actually happens, other than maybe asking them if they want to collect orders after the party to add on to their party. So I think that's the big difference is with virtuals, it's more during the party, and with home shows, it's all before the party, and it's all about getting people there. Obviously, you let them know, like, hey, here's your grocery list, here's your theme, here's our recipes. But as far as actually getting a party out of it with the sales, it's all about getting people there. So that's kind of the difference, I would say, for the two. I'm doing home shows and virtual, so I'm thinking sometimes I forget, like, oh gosh, I have a home show in 2 weeks. I got to start doing my host coaching now. Whereas a virtual, I might do it like 5 or 6 days before the party starts. Okay, I'm going to or if you guys just want to unmute yourselves, or you can raise your hand and like I'll unmute you. But time for Q&A for Amanda and I about host coaching. And I'm going to unmute Amanda too. It'd be so much more fun if we were together again, Amanda, like last week.
I know.
Easier. All right, what questions do you guys have? I know there's some people doing home shows. If you have home show questions for host coaching. Otherwise, we're going to go into Disneyworld, which is fine.
Sorry.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I have a home show coming up. It's like my 3rd home show ever. But it's for one of my really good friends. She already has like 20 people coming. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm running like a virtual party this week, but then on Sunday, we're going to do a cooking party. And so I just, like, if there's any tips that you guys have for making it a successful show.
Okay, well, I want to tell you, maybe you and I should talk, just the two of us.
Okay.
Because it's a big show.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, I mean, we could talk for a while. Go ahead, Amanda.
I was just going to say, use Express Party Checkout for that party. If you haven't done it yet, the Express Party Checkout, you and Brienne can chat about it, but you do that because it'll make your checkout so much easier.
Okay, cool.
It's basically people ordering from their phones rather than with orders.
Gotcha. Okay, we'll definitely have to chat. Okay.
Something that Kristen did back when I was a host, I had 20 people at my first ever Pamper Chef party when I was just a host. I had a tiny little house. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. And what she did, because I had 20 people there and I had a very small kitchen. So what she did was she had half of the people she had in the living room shopping, looking at catalogs.
Get down.
She had people doing stations and working on food. And then about halfway through, she said, switch. And she had the two.
Okay.
She put the other group in there, and then she had the other group come and cook. And then she had everybody together for her shop and share and kind of her games and stuff like that. So if you're worried about space in the kitchen, you can always, get creative or do extra stations, or, you can get fancy with it if you want.
Cool.
I'm going to pick on Johnny. She doesn't have to share. I can share for her, but she's been doing something with her host that I think is really, really smart. She kind of shared in our message thread about it. Johnny, do you want to unmute and share? Or do you want me to share? If you don't say anything, I'll share for you. Oh, she said, go ahead. Okay, she's in the chat bar. Okay, so something that she's been doing is so you know how when somebody orders on your party, you say like, thank you for your order, and you tag the person. She has been having her host do that. So when an order comes in, she messages her host, she gives them the thank you image, and she says, hey, so-and-so ordered, would you post this and tag them in the post as a thank you? Which I think is so smart because, one, everybody sees the notification because everybody's friends with the host, whereas if they're not friends with us, they might not see it. And two, it makes it more about the host, because when the host is posting a thank you, people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm helping my friend out by ordering. Like, she's thanking people. Rather than me thanking people, it's like, yeah, the consultant is happy because she's making money, right? So I think that's a really, really smart idea, and I'm totally stealing that idea. So you guys should steal it too. Johnny, I hope you don't mind that I shared. Party closed out today at $714. Yeah, see? Look at that. That's awesome. I love it. What else? I'm good at wait time, you guys. I teach second grade. I got all the evil eyes and wait time.
Don't be giving us the evil eye.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let's do our code word. Amanda and I did not talk about this ahead of time.
It's all you, girl.
The code word is going to be
Snowball.
No, I said Disney World.
Disney World.
Some people are too scarred by the snow. So, okay, Snowball or Disney World. If you are watching the recording, you can message us. Either word is valid this week. Snowball or Disney World or Mickey Mouse here. Okay, so let's talk about Disney World, yeah? Are you guys down with that for a few minutes? Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys that when I joined beginning of July, and I earned the trip by end of December. So that was 5 months? No, that's 6 full months. So I earned it in 6 months, and that was the Amelia Island trip. And so what I did in those 6 months, I didn't start super, super strong, but I started with home shows, and I recruited pretty quickly. So when you raise your hand, do you guys know how the points work for a trip? Do you know how they work? Okay, let's start there. Let me backtrack. You get 1 point for every dollar that you sell. You get 1 point for every dollar. You get 1,000 points for consistency of sales per quarter. So January, February, March, if you sell 2,000 or more every month, you get an extra $1,000 bonus points. If that makes sense? So you get the 2,000 points for your sales plus another 1,000 bonus points. For those of us that went to conference, like Karen and Amanda and I, we got an extra 1,000 just from going to conference. So go to conference this coming year. You never know what they're going to give you at conference. They might give us extra points for Disney World. We don't know. You also get, and here's where you can really get a lot of points fast. You get 3,000 points per person who joins your team once they hit their first $1,250 in sales. So, for example, Leela, who's on our call, she just recently got her signing bonus. She got the quick cooker. She got 100 PC bucks, and I got 3,000 trip points. Okay, so when you have, let's say, 4 people join your team, and all 4 of those people qualify, that's 12,000 trip points. It's a lot of trip points. So, can you earn a trip just by selling? Yes, you can. It's 56,000 points in the year. But think about that. If you do 56,000 divided by 12, you're looking at about 5,000 a month in sales. However, if you were to recruit one person and qualify them a month, now you're looking at 2,600 in sales and one person qualifying a month. So what I'm saying is the recruits can really bulk up your points fast, whereas sales are a little bit harder. Are a little bit harder to always guarantee you're going to sell that much every month. Now, as a director, if you promote to director, it's less points that you have to earn, and you get 6,000 points for promoting to director. So you get 6,000 bonus points, and you get less points that you have to earn for the trip. Now, I know it sounds like a lot of points, you guys, but the trip was not even on my radar when I joined. And what happened was I promoted to director, and then I got all these recruiting points, and then I saw how far away I was. And so I rallied really hard in November, December. So what I would do is I would kind of look at the points that you need and exactly how many shows you would need to do each month to make that happen. And I will tell you that if you do 6 to 8 shows a month, qualified shows a month, and you recruit 1 to 2 a month, you're going to earn a trip. You will. It's very hard for you not to at that point. Amanda can tell you she earned a trip this last year, and I think for her, she was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even trying that hard, and I got it, because she was consistent. Would you say that, Amanda? I don't hope you don't mind that I said that, but.
Yeah, no, consistency is huge. Just make a goal every month to have 8 qualifying parties and 2 recruits, and that you'll earn it. Like Brianne said, consistency is huge.
And
yeah.
you will promote to director too. If you're doing 8 shows, honestly, if you have 8 shows on your calendar, that's going to get you more bookings because you have more shows, and it's going to give you more recruit leads because you have more shows. So a lot of times when we're not recruiting, it's because we don't have a lot of shows, because we're not getting in front of a lot of people. So we're not, as directors, we're not doing anything special to recruit. We just have a lot of parties, right? So when I have 5 parties in a week, I'm getting in front of 100 to 150 new people, and I'm getting a lot of leads out of that. And I'm adding a lot of people to my VIP group and things like that and keeping in touch with them. So it really all comes down to booking parties. And 6 to 8 shows is going to get you a lot of leads and a lot of booking leads and a lot of recruit leads and help you earn that trip.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know where to find all the info about the trip? I'll tell you that. So if you go on Consultants Corner, and you go to, on the top tabs, if you go to promotions and recognition, and then you scroll down and it's magic in the making. If you go there, it has the trip video. It has how to earn all of your points. It has a place that you can track your progress and see exactly how many points you have. So that's something I look at all the time, you guys. I'm obsessed with Disney World. So I am like Marcus. In fact, last month, Marcus was like, how many trip points do you have? And I was like, like 6,000. He's like, you're not going to get it. He was like, I was like, yes, I am. I'm getting it. He's like, no, you're 200 short of your goal for this month. So like him and I as a couple, like we know exactly what I need to hit each month to make it happen. So it really comes down to tracking it and keeping it consistent. But I'm also going for like the big level trip. So that's why it's so many points. What else? I see a cute puppy on here. I'm getting distracted. Hi, London. All right. Before we go, we have a couple minutes. How did the booking blitz and things go this last week? Because last week our call was all about bookings. Did anybody book parties? Did you get people saying no and having objections you want to walk through? Like, what's been going on with the bookings? Because that's really what it comes down to, is getting bookings.
Okay. Mine, I got one, my sister-in-law, which she always helps me out, but it's just terrible. It's like I have an issue. Just a second, okay? When people do respond, like most of the time they're like, oh, no, thanks, but maybe in the future. But most of the people just don't even respond. Like they see my message and they just don't talk to me. And like I had mentioned to you earlier, there's a lady who came to me. She had a party in January, and even before she had the party, she was talking about joining my team. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then we talked, and she's like, okay, I'll have a party. And she was all excited. I can't remember if her party qualified or not, but, and then she said that she just needed like a week or two for her paycheck or whatever, and then her husband's, and then she'd join. And then like I haven't heard from her, and I tried checking in with her, and I just figured maybe she got busy because she's a mom. And then so I waited like a few days or a week, and then so she reads my message, doesn't respond, but then she'll respond to my group or on my page on anything. And like that's my biggest thing is like I get sometimes you forget, but like so many people, they just ignore you, and it's, I don't know, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. I know there's a lot of consultants that will go back when they see that they've seen it and didn't respond and say something like, hey girl, just checking in to see if you got my last message okay. Because we have to remember people are busy too, and so we can't take it personally when they see it and don't respond. So just sending that follow-up message. Something that I've done too is and I did this week, I have people that I follow up with, and when they don't respond, I send them one more message and I say something like this. I say, hey, Nicole, I have you down on my follow-up list. I know at one point you were interested in a party. I really don't want to keep bugging you. So if I don't hear back from you after this message, I'm going to take you off my list. I do. I say that. I'm going to take you off my list. And that's totally cool if you're not interested anymore. But if you are interested, let me know. And I do that because it's kind of putting the ball, and I don't know if everybody would do this, to be honest. I don't even know if this is good training. But for me, I don't want to stress out about it. I don't want to have them on a list and keep messaging and keep messaging and keep messaging them and then feel like I'm bothering them. So I put the ball in their court. And I would do this with your recruit leader. I'd be like, hey, look, girl, I know at one point you were interested in joining my team. I feel like I might be bugging you, so I'm just throwing this out one more time. I love to stay in touch, but I won't keep bothering you and sending you up follow-up messages unless you want me to. It took me 2 years to join, and so I also feel like sometimes it's just not the right timing, and Kristen would always check in with me and be like, can I keep following up with you? And I'd be like, yes, please keep follow up with me in another 6 months or another 3 months. So they might say something like that too. But put the ball in their court. And if they don't respond, I mean, you've got better things to do.
Yeah.
You know, you got to move on to the next host. I hate to say it, but like, you can't be holding on for them. You've got to keep looking for the next teammate and the next host.
Yeah, that's true.
Amanda, do you have anything to add about that?
No, I mean, yeah. You can't force people. You can't make somebody respond. And so I think that's a good way to do that. I mean, I'm going to take that and run with it too, because I feel like too, when you give them the control, right? Like you're kind of just saying, hey, like I'm good either way, but let me know if you want me to keep following up. Like, I feel like that is I'm taking it. I don't know. I'll tell you how it goes for me, but I think that that's a really good idea. And like you said, like we don't have time. We don't have time to dwell on the what ifs, right? Or what if I get this person to respond to me, right? So if they're not responding, like do that one last follow-up and then move on and spend your time elsewhere. And yeah, I agree with all of that.
So my Zoom, you guys, I don't have the paid version, so it's probably going to cut us off here in a second. But next week, we're going to talk about recruiting. So we'll go into more details about this. But yeah, that follow-up message that I send is only if I've asked them a couple other times and they haven't responded to me. And I'm like, I got to move on, right? So if you're feeling like that, Nicole, I would go that route. If you've only followed up once, maybe send one more follow-up like, hey, did you see my message? Just checking in first.
Okay.
All right, you guys, I'm going to end because it's going to kick me off, but feel free to message in our group message if you guys need to debrief more, okay? All right, bye.
Bye.